Marcus Sterling sat in the back of his black car and looked at his expensive watch. The numbers on his phone screen showed millions of dollars. His company stock was going up again. This made him smile, but only for a moment. "Dad, I'm hungry," said Tommy from the seat next to him. The 8-year-old boy rubbed his stomach and made a sad face. Marcus looked at his son with surprise. He had been so busy thinking about money and business that he forgot about lunch. The big meeting at his office building had gone on for 3 hours. Now it was past 2 in the afternoon. "We'll eat soon," Marcus said, but he was not sure where. They were driving through a part of the city he never visited. The buildings here were old and small. The streets were not as clean as the ones near his office or his big house. Tommy pressed his face against the car window. "Can we stop at that place?" he asked, pointing to a small restaurant with bright signs. Marcus looked at the place Tommy was pointing at. It was not the kind of restaurant he usually went to. The paint on the building was old. There were no expensive cars parked outside. Marcus always ate at fancy places where one meal cost more than some people made in a day. "I don't think so, son," Marcus said. "Let's find something better." But as they drove through the busy streets, Marcus realized something. He was in a part of town where there were no fancy restaurants. All the places here were small and simple. His driver, James, had taken a different road because of traffic. Now they were far from the expensive part of the city. Tommy's stomach made a loud noise. The boy looked very hungry and tired. Marcus felt bad. He was always so busy making money that he sometimes forgot to take care of simple things like food for his son. "Dad, please," Tommy said again. "I'm really hungry." Marcus was about to tell James to drive faster to get out of this area when Tommy saw something else. Through the car window, the boy spotted a small park across the street. There were trees and grass. A few children were playing on old swings and slides. "Look, Dad, can we go to that park?" Tommy asked with excitement. "I want to play while you make your phone calls." Marcus looked at the park. It was not like the private playgrounds near their house. This park was free for everyone to use. The equipment was old but clean. Families sat on wooden benches watching their children play. Some people had brought sandwiches and drinks for picnics. Marcus was about to say no. He had important calls to make. His assistant was waiting for him to call back about 3 different business deals. The stock market would close in a few hours and he needed to check his investments. But then he looked at Tommy's face. His son looked so tired and hungry. The boy had been sitting in boring meetings with him all morning. Tommy had been good and quiet, playing games on his tablet while Marcus talked business with other rich men in expensive suits. "Please, Dad," Tommy asked one more time. "Just for a little while?" Marcus felt something soft in his heart. Maybe Tommy needed to run around and play. Maybe fresh air would be good for both of them. He could make his phone calls from a bench in the park just as easily as from his office. "Okay," Marcus said. "We can stop for a few minutes." James parked the car near the park. Marcus got out first, fixing his dark blue suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. His leather shoes were shiny and expensive. His watch was made of real gold. Everything about Marcus showed that he had a lot of money. Tommy jumped out of the car and ran toward the park entrance. Marcus followed slowly, taking out his phone to check his messages. He had 47 new emails and 12 missed calls, all about business and money. The park was different from what Marcus expected. It was actually quite nice. The grass was green and cut short. The trees gave good shade from the afternoon sun. Families of all kinds were enjoying the warm day. Some kids were playing soccer with an old ball. Others were climbing on the playground equipment. Marcus found an empty bench under a big tree. He sat down and immediately started making phone calls. His first call was to his assistant, Sarah. "Mr. Sterling, where are you?" Sarah asked. The Tokyo office called 3 times. "I'm taking a short break with Tommy," Marcus said, watching his son run toward the swings. "Transfer all calls to my cell phone." While Marcus talked on the phone, Tommy made his way to the playground. The other children looked at him with curiosity. Tommy was wearing expensive clothes, a clean white shirt, dark pants, and shoes that cost more than many families spent on clothes for a whole year. But Tommy did not think about clothes or money. He was just a hungry, tired boy who wanted to play. He climbed on the monkey bars and tried to swing across. Some of the other kids smiled at him and showed him how to do it better. Marcus continued his phone calls, but he found himself watching Tommy play. His son was laughing and having fun with children he had never met before. These kids did not care that Tommy was rich. They just wanted to play together. "Mr. Sterling, are you listening?" asked the voice on his phone. "Yes, sorry," Marcus said, trying to focus on business again, but his eyes kept moving back to Tommy. His son was now playing a game of tag with 4 other children. Tommy was running and laughing harder than Marcus had seen in months. For a moment, Marcus wondered when was the last time he had seen Tommy this happy. At home, Tommy usually played alone with expensive toys or watched movies on his big television. He had tutors and music lessons and language classes. But when did he just run around and laugh with other kids? Marcus made 3 more business calls, but he found it hard to concentrate. The park was peaceful in a way his office never was. There was no stress here, no pressure to make more money, just families enjoying a simple afternoon together. Tommy ran back to the bench, breathing hard from playing. "Dad, I'm still really hungry," he said. "Can we get some food now?" Marcus looked around. He did not see any fancy restaurants nearby, but he noticed that many families in the park had brought their own food. They were eating simple sandwiches and drinking water from bottles. They looked happy and satisfied. "Let me finish this call," Marcus said. "Then we'll find something to eat." But as Marcus tried to focus on his phone call about stock prices and business deals, he could not stop thinking about how different this place was from his usual world. Here, a good day meant playing with friends and sharing simple food. In his world, a good day meant making millions of dollars and beating his competitors. Tommy sat next to him on the bench, swinging his legs and watching the other children play. The boy was being patient, but Marcus could see he was getting more hungry and tired. Marcus finished his call and put his phone in his pocket. For the first time in a very long time, he decided to take a real break from business. Maybe he could learn something from watching these families enjoy their simple afternoon in the park. Marcus was still sitting on the bench when Tommy got up again. The boy had been waiting patiently for food, but his hunger was getting stronger. He walked away from the bench and started exploring more of the park. "Don't go too far," Marcus called out, but he was already reaching for his phone again. Another important email had come in from his business partner in London. Tommy walked past the swings and slides. He went toward a quieter part of the park where big old trees made cool shadows. The grass here was soft and green. It was peaceful, away from the noise of the playground. As Tommy walked around a large tree, he saw someone sitting alone on the ground. It was a girl who looked a little older than him. Maybe she was 10 years old. She had long brown hair that was clean but not perfectly styled like the girls at Tommy's expensive private school. The girl was wearing a purple t-shirt and blue jeans.
Her clothes were not new, but they were clean and neatly kept.
Next to her was a small backpack that looked very full. She was holding something wrapped in white paper. Tommy was curious. He moved closer and saw that the girl was unwrapping a sandwich. It was just a simple peanut butter sandwich on regular bread. Nothing fancy, but it smelled good to Tommy's hungry stomach. The girl looked up and saw Tommy watching her. She smiled in a friendly way. "Hi," she said. "I'm Maya." "I'm Tommy," he replied, but his eyes kept looking at the sandwich. His stomach made another loud noise. Maya noticed that Tommy was staring at her food. She also heard his stomach growling. Without thinking twice, she broke her sandwich exactly in half. "Are you hungry?" Maya asked. "Do you want to share with me?" Tommy was surprised. At his school and in his neighborhood, kids did not usually share food with strangers. Everyone had their own expensive lunchboxes with lots of food. But here was this girl he had just met offering to give him half of what looked like her only sandwich. "Are you sure?" Tommy asked. "It's your food." Maya smiled bigger. "My grandma always says food tastes better when you share it with a friend." She handed Tommy half of the sandwich. He took it carefully and sat down on the grass next to her. The sandwich was simple, but it tasted really good to his hungry stomach. "Thank you," Tommy said. "This is really nice." "You're welcome," Maya said. She took a small bite of her half and chewed slowly, like she wanted to make it last as long as possible. Tommy ate his half quickly because he was so hungry. Then he felt bad because Maya was eating hers very slowly. "Do you want some of mine back?" Tommy asked, feeling guilty. Maya laughed. "No, silly. I gave it to you because I wanted to. That's what sharing means." They sat together under the tree and Tommy started to feel curious about this kind girl. "Do you come to this park a lot?" Tommy asked. "Pretty often," Maya said. "Me and my grandma like to walk here. It's nice and quiet." "Where do you live?" Tommy asked, the way kids do when they want to be friends. Maya's smile got a little smaller, but she did not look sad. We're staying at a place downtown. It's temporary, but it's okay. Tommy did not understand what temporary meant, but he did not want to ask and seem stupid. Instead, he told Maya about his house. I live in a really big house with my dad, Tommy said. It has a swimming pool and a game room with lots of video games. Maya's eyes got wide with interest. Wow, that sounds amazing. What kind of video games do you have? Tommy got excited and started telling Maya about all his games and toys. He told her about his racing games and adventure games. He described his huge television and the special chairs that moved when you played games. Maya listened with real interest, asking questions and saying, "Wow," at all the right times. She did not seem jealous or sad that she did not have these things. She just seemed happy to hear about them. That sounds so cool, Maya said. I love video games, but I usually play them at the library. The library has video games? Tommy asked, surprised. Some of them do, Maya explained. They have computers you can use for free. I go there to do homework and sometimes play games if no one else is waiting. Tommy thought this was interesting. He had never been to a public library. At home, he had his own computer and tablet and phone. If he needed books, his parents bought them or his tutors brought them. What's your favorite game? Tommy asked. Maya thought for a moment. I really like the puzzle games. The ones where you have to figure out how to get through mazes or solve mysteries. They make me think hard. Tommy got excited. I have some of those. They're really fun. Maybe you could come to my house and play them sometime. Maya's face lit up with joy, but then she looked a little uncertain. That would be amazing, but I would have to ask my grandma first. Of course, Tommy said. My dad would have to say yes, too. They continued talking and became more comfortable with each other. Maya told Tommy about the different parks she had visited around the city. She knew which ones had the best slides and which ones had ducks and ponds. She knew where the cleanest restrooms were and which parks had free water fountains. Tommy was amazed by how much Maya knew about the city. He had lived here his whole life, but he had only been to a few places. His house, his school, his dad's office, and some fancy restaurants and stores. How do you know about so many places? Tommy asked. Me and Grandma like to explore, Maya said. We walk around a lot. It's free and fun to see new things. Tommy had never thought about walking around the city for fun. When he went places, James drove him in the car. He usually just looked at his tablet or phone during car rides. That sounds fun, Tommy said. I never really explore. You should try it, Maya said. You can find really cool things. Yesterday we found a place where people paint pictures on walls. The pictures were so beautiful and colorful. As they talked, Maya carefully wrapped up the last few crumbs of her sandwich in the white paper. She folded the paper very neatly and put it in her backpack. Why are you saving those crumbs? Tommy asked, curious. Maya looked a little embarrassed. Sometimes I get hungry later. These can help. Tommy did not really understand, but he nodded like it made sense. In his world, if he got hungry later, there was always more food. His house had a big kitchen full of snacks, and his dad could always buy more food. Do you want to play something? Maya asked, changing the subject. Sure, Tommy said. What do you want to play? Maya looked around and picked up some small rocks. We could play a counting game. Or we could make up stories about the people walking by. Tommy thought both ideas sounded fun. At home, his games needed electricity and screens. But Maya's games just needed imagination. They started making up stories about the people in the park. They saw a man walking a small dog and decided he was a secret agent. They saw a woman reading a book and made up a story that she was reading about magic spells. Tommy was having more fun than he had in a long time. Maya was really good at making up stories. She was also really good at listening and asking questions that made the stories even better. As they played, Tommy forgot all about being hungry. He forgot about his dad's business and their expensive car. He forgot about his big house and fancy toys. He was just a kid playing with a new friend who was kind and fun and smart. Maya seemed to forget her worries, too. She laughed and smiled and made jokes. She was creative and imaginative. She made Tommy feel like any game could be fun if you played it with the right person. Neither of them noticed that Marcus had stopped talking on his phone and was watching them from his bench under the tree. Marcus ended his phone call and put his phone down on the bench next to him. He was planning to check his emails, but something made him look up instead. He saw Tommy sitting under a big tree with a girl he had never seen before. At first, Marcus felt worried. He did not know this girl. Where were her parents? Was it safe for Tommy to be talking to a stranger? But as Marcus watched, he saw something that made him pause. The girl was sharing food with Tommy. She had broken what looked like a small sandwich in half and given part of it to his son. Tommy was eating it gratefully, and the two children were talking and laughing together. Marcus felt confused. He had forgotten to bring snacks for Tommy, but this young girl who looked like she did not have much money was sharing her food with his son. This was not something Marcus expected to see. Marcus decided to watch more carefully instead of calling Tommy back right away. He wanted to understand what was happening. From his bench, he could hear some of their conversation. "My grandma always says food tastes better when you share it with a friend," the girl was saying. Marcus watched as Tommy ate the sandwich with real hunger. He felt guilty for forgetting about his son's lunch. But he also felt surprised by this girl's kindness. She had just met Tommy, but she was treating him like an old friend. Marcus had been to many business dinners and fancy parties where rich people talked about helping others. They gave money to charities and had their pictures taken while handing over big checks. But Marcus had never seen anyone actually share their own food with a hungry person, especially a child sharing with another child. As Marcus continued watching, he heard Tommy talking about their house and his video games. The girl listened with interest and excitement, but she did not seem jealous. She seemed genuinely happy to hear about Tommy's life. "That sounds so cool," Marcus heard the girl say. "I love video games, but I usually play them at the library." This made Marcus think. This girl had to go to the public library to play video games. Tommy had a whole room full of expensive games at home. But here they were, both enjoying each other's company equally. Marcus watched the girl carefully wrap up the tiny crumbs left from her sandwich. She folded the paper very neatly and put it in her backpack. This small action made Marcus feel strange inside. She was saving crumbs for later. When was the last time Marcus had worried about having enough food? The two children started playing simple games with rocks and sticks they found on the ground. Marcus watched Tommy laugh harder than he had seen in months. At home, Tommy had thousands of dollars worth of toys and games, but he never seemed as happy as he did right now playing with rocks and imagination. Marcus realized something that made him uncomfortable. He spent thousands of dollars on entertainment for Tommy. Expensive toys, private lessons, fancy trips. But this girl with almost nothing was giving Tommy more joy with a few rocks and some creative stories. As Marcus watched, he started to really look at the girl. Her clothes were not new or expensive, but they were clean and well cared for. Her hair was brushed neatly. She spoke politely and used good manners. Someone was taking good care of her, even though they clearly did not have much money. The girl seemed smart and creative. She made up interesting stories and asked thoughtful questions. She was kind and generous. She was exactly the kind of friend Marcus hoped Tommy would have, but he had never met a child like her in their wealthy neighborhood. Marcus found himself putting his phone away completely. He had not done this in years during the day. He always had business calls to make, emails to answer, deals to think about. But watching these two children together was more interesting than any business deal. He watched Tommy and the girl play a game where they pretended to be explorers finding treasure. The girl made up detailed stories about ancient maps and hidden caves. Tommy added ideas about secret codes and brave adventures. Together they created a whole imaginary world using nothing but their imagination. Marcus tried to remember the last time he had played like this with Tommy. When was the last time he had sat on the ground with his son and made up stories? He could not remember. At home, if Tommy wanted attention, Marcus usually turned on the television or gave Tommy an expensive toy to play with. But this girl was giving Tommy something Marcus realized he had not been giving his son: her complete attention and genuine interest. She was not checking a phone or thinking about work. She was fully present with Tommy, listening to every word he said and responding with real enthusiasm. Marcus also noticed how naturally the children shared everything. When the girl found an interesting rock, she immediately showed it to Tommy. When Tommy had an idea for their pretend game, he made sure the girl was included. They had just met, but they were already acting like close friends. This made Marcus think about his own friendships. Most of the people he spent time with were business partners or clients. They talked about money and deals and profits. When was the last time Marcus had a conversation just for the joy of talking to someone? When was the last time he had laughed with a friend the way Tommy was laughing with this girl? Marcus watched the girl teach Tommy a clapping game. She showed him the pattern slowly and patiently until he got it right. When Tommy made a mistake, she just smiled and showed him again. She was encouraging and kind, never making Tommy feel bad for not knowing the game. Marcus thought about how he acted when Tommy made mistakes. Often Marcus felt impatient. He had so many important things to do that he did not always have time to teach Tommy things slowly and patiently. He usually just told Tommy to ask his tutors or nannies for help, but this girl was giving Tommy the gift of her patience and attention. She was teaching him something new and making it fun. She was treating him like he was important and interesting. As Marcus continued watching, he heard more of their conversation. The girl was telling Tommy about different places in the city she had visited. She knew about parks and libraries and museums that were free to visit. She talked about these places with excitement and joy. Marcus realized that this girl had probably seen more of their city than Tommy had, even though Tommy's family could afford to go anywhere. They usually went to expensive private places. Tommy had never been to a public library, or most of the parks the girl was describing. The girl was sharing her knowledge of the city, the same way she had shared her sandwich, freely and generously. She was teaching Tommy about places he could explore and things he could do. She was opening up a whole new world for him. Marcus began to feel something he had not felt in a long time. He felt curious about this girl's life. Who was she? Where did she live? Who took care of her? How had she learned to be so kind and generous? But more than curious, Marcus felt impressed. This young girl was displaying qualities that Marcus had spent years trying to teach Tommy through expensive character-building programs and moral education classes. Yet here was a child who naturally cared for others, and found joy in simple things. Marcus looked at his expensive watch and realized he had been watching the children for almost 30 minutes. He had missed 4 phone calls and ignored dozens of emails. But for the first time in years, he did not feel anxious about this. He felt like he was learning something important by watching his son with this remarkable girl. As the afternoon sun moved across the sky, Marcus continued to observe the friendship forming between Tommy and this generous, joyful girl who had shared her sandwich and opened his son's eyes to a different way of seeing the world. As Marcus continued watching, the conversation between Tommy and Maya became more personal. He moved a little closer on his bench so he could hear better, but still stayed far enough away that the children did not notice him listening. "Where do you go to school?" Tommy asked Maya as they built a small castle out of twigs and leaves. "I go to Lincoln Elementary," Maya said, concentrating on placing a leaf just right on their creation. "It's not far from here. I really like my teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez. She's really nice and helps me with my reading." Tommy nodded. "I go to St. Michael's Academy. It's a private school. We have to wear uniforms and everything." Maya looked interested. "That sounds fancy. Do you like it?" Tommy thought for a moment. "It's okay, I guess. The classes are hard and we have a lot of homework. But the teachers are good." Marcus knew that Tommy's school cost more in 1 year than many families made in total. It had small classes, expensive equipment, and teachers with advanced degrees. But listening to Tommy talk about it, Marcus realized his son did not sound very excited about school. "What's your favorite subject?" Maya asked. "I like art class," Tommy said. "We get to paint and make things with our hands." "What about you?" Maya's face lit up. "I love reading. Mrs. Rodriguez lets me help the younger kids with their reading sometimes, and I really like science. We did this experiment last week where we made a volcano with baking soda and vinegar. It was so cool." Marcus could hear the excitement in Maya's voice when she talked about school. She sounded like she truly loved learning. Tommy had expensive tutors and educational programs, but Marcus could not remember the last time his son sounded this excited about learning something. As the children continued talking, Maya mentioned something that made Marcus pay even closer attention. "Do you live with your mom and dad?" Tommy asked innocently. Maya's expression became a little more serious, but she did not look sad. "I live with my grandma, just me and her. My mom got sick when I was little and had to go to heaven, but Grandma takes really good care of me." Marcus felt his heart tighten. This little girl who had so generously shared her sandwich was living without her mother. He thought about how lucky Tommy was to have both parents, even though Marcus realized he was often too busy to spend quality time with his son. "I'm sorry about your mom," Tommy said in the sweet way that children express sympathy. "But your grandma sounds really nice." "She is," Maya said with a bright smile returning to her face. She tells me stories and teaches me how to cook. She used to be a nurse and help sick people get better. She knows a lot about everything. Tommy looked thoughtful. My mom travels a lot for work. Sometimes I don't see her for weeks. But I have my dad. Marcus felt a pang of guilt. Tommy's mother, his ex-wife, was indeed always traveling for her high-powered job. And Marcus himself was usually so focused on business that he did not spend nearly enough time with Tommy. Maya continued talking about her grandmother. Grandma says we're going through a tough time right now, but things will get better. She lost her job when she got sick, so we had to leave our apartment. But she says this is just temporary. Marcus felt shocked. This girl and her grandmother were homeless. That explained why Maya saved every crumb of her sandwich and knew so much about different places around the city. They were probably moving from place to place, trying to find somewhere safe to stay. Where do you live now? Tommy asked, not understanding the full meaning of what Maya had said. Maya hesitated for a moment. We stay at a place downtown where they help people who don't have homes right now. It's not bad. There are lots of other families there, and the people who work there are nice. We have a bed and 3 meals a day. Marcus realized Maya was talking about a homeless shelter. This kind, generous girl who had shared her food with Tommy was living in a homeless shelter with her sick grandmother. Grandma is looking for a new job, Maya continued. But it's hard because she gets tired easily since she got diabetes. The medicine makes her feel weak sometimes. Tommy listened carefully, but Marcus could tell his son did not fully understand what Maya was describing. Tommy had never known anyone who lost their home or struggled to find work. In Tommy's world, these problems did not exist. That sounds hard, Tommy said, trying to be supportive even though he did not really understand. It's okay, Maya said with the kind of strength that amazed Marcus. Grandma says every day we have each other is a good day. And we've met some really nice people at the shelter. There's this lady named Miss Carmen who teaches kids how to braid hair, and Mr. James who knows how to fix anything that breaks. Marcus was struck by Maya's positive attitude. She was describing life in a homeless shelter, but she focused on the good parts, the people who were kind, the things she was learning, the fact that she and her grandmother were together. My grandma always says that having a lot of money doesn't make you rich, Maya continued. She says being rich means having people who love you and being kind to others. This statement hit Marcus like a physical blow. Here was a homeless 10-year-old girl teaching life lessons that Marcus had somehow forgotten. He had spent years accumulating wealth, believing that money would bring happiness and security. But this girl who had almost nothing seemed happier and more content than Marcus felt most days. Tommy looked thoughtful. My dad has a lot of money. He's always on the phone talking about business and making more money. But I never really thought about whether that makes us rich. Maya nodded wisely. Money is nice to have, but Grandma says the most important things can't be bought. Like friends and laughter and helping people. Marcus felt his eyes becoming watery. This young girl was teaching his son values that all of Marcus's money could not buy. She was showing Tommy what true generosity looked like by sharing her sandwich. She was demonstrating strength by staying positive despite her difficult situation. She was teaching him about real friendship by simply being herself. Maybe you and your grandma could come to our house sometime, Tommy said suddenly. My dad could help you guys. Maya's eyes widened with hope, but then she looked uncertain. That's really nice of you to say, but I don't think your dad would want to help people like us. Why not? Tommy asked, genuinely confused. Maya thought carefully about how to explain. Sometimes people who have a lot of money don't like to be around people who don't have money. They think we might ask them for help or make them feel bad. Marcus felt ashamed listening to Maya's words. She was probably right. Most people in Marcus's social circle did avoid poor people. They gave money to charity so they could feel good about helping, but they did not actually spend time with people who needed help. But Maya was wrong about one thing. After watching her kindness and wisdom, Marcus would be honored to have her and her grandmother in his home. This little girl had more character and generosity than most of the wealthy adults Marcus knew. My dad's not like that, Tommy said with confidence that made Marcus feel both proud and worried. He's nice. He would help you, Maya smiled. Your dad must be really special to have a son like you. Marcus felt tears forming in his eyes. This homeless girl thought his son was special, and she was right. But Marcus realized that Tommy's best qualities, his kindness, innocence, and open heart, were not things Marcus had taught him. They were just part of who Tommy naturally was. As Marcus listened to more of their conversation, He learned that Maya knew which restaurants threw away good food at closing time, which libraries had the cleanest bathrooms, and which churches served free meals on different days of the week. She had knowledge about survival that no child should need to have, but Maya shared this information without bitterness or anger. She was simply smart and resourceful, doing whatever she needed to do to help herself and her grandmother get through each day. Marcus realized he was witnessing something extraordinary. This little girl was facing challenges that would break many adults, but she maintained her kindness, generosity, and positive spirit. She was taking care of her sick grandmother and still found joy in simple things like playing with a new friend. As the afternoon continued, Marcus knew he could not just walk away from this encounter. Something had to be done. This remarkable girl and her grandmother needed help, and Marcus had the power to provide it. But more than that, Marcus realized that Maya had already given him and Tommy something precious, a lesson about what really mattered in life. Marcus looked at his expensive watch and realized it was getting late. The sun was starting to move lower in the sky, and he knew Tommy would need dinner soon. But more importantly, he did not want to keep this little girl away from her grandmother for too long. "Tommy," Marcus called out, his voice gentler than usual, "we need to go soon." Tommy looked up from where he and Maya were still playing their imagination games. His face fell with disappointment. "Already?" Tommy asked. "But we were having so much fun." Marcus walked over to where the children were sitting. As he got closer, he could see Maya more clearly. She had kind brown eyes and a warm smile. Despite everything she was going through, she looked healthy and well cared for. Her grandmother was clearly doing everything possible to take good care of her. "Hello," Marcus said to Maya. "I'm Tommy's father." Maya stood up politely and brushed the grass off her clothes. "Hello, Mr." She paused, not knowing his last name. "Sterling," Marcus said. "But you can call me Mr. Marcus," Maya smiled. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Marcus. I'm Maya. Tommy is really nice. You should be proud of him." Marcus felt his heart warm at her words. This young girl who had every reason to be bitter about life was complimenting his son and trying to make Marcus feel good. "Thank you," Marcus said. "Tommy seems to think you're pretty special too." Maya's cheeks turned a little pink and she smiled bigger. "We had fun playing together." As they walked back toward the car, Tommy chattered excitedly about everything he and Maya had done. He told Marcus about the games they played, the stories they made up, and the things Maya had taught him about the city. But Marcus was thinking about other things. He was thinking about Maya carefully saving the crumbs from her sandwich. He was thinking about her positive attitude despite living in a homeless shelter. He was thinking about her sick grandmother and their uncertain future. During the drive home, Tommy continued talking about Maya, but Marcus found it hard to concentrate. He kept seeing the image of Maya breaking her small sandwich in half to share with Tommy. He kept hearing her voice talking about how her grandmother said rich people were those who had love and kindness, not money. "Dad, can Maya come to our house?" Tommy asked as they pulled into their long driveway. Marcus looked at their huge house with new eyes. It had 15 rooms, a swimming pool, a tennis court, and a 3-car garage. The house was worth more money than most people would make in their entire lives, but suddenly it felt too big and empty. "We'll see," Marcus said, but he was already thinking about how to make that happen. When they got inside, Tommy ran to his room to play video games, but Marcus could not stop thinking about Maya and her grandmother. He went to his home office and sat in his expensive leather chair, but instead of working, he stared out the window. Marcus tried to go back to his normal evening routine. He checked the stock market, read business reports, and answered emails. But every few minutes, his mind went back to the park. He kept thinking about Maya's kindness and wisdom. He kept thinking about how happy Tommy had been playing simple games with rocks and sticks. At dinner, Tommy talked more about Maya. He told Marcus about how Maya knew which library had the best books, how she helped younger kids learn to read, and how she always looked for the positive side of everything. "She's really smart, Dad," Tommy said, "and she's really nice. I think you would like her a lot." Marcus knew Tommy was right. In just a few hours, Maya had impressed Marcus more than most adults he knew. She had shown more character, generosity, and wisdom than people who had expensive educations and successful careers. After Tommy went to bed, Marcus sat alone in his big house and felt something he had not felt in years. He felt unsettled and uncomfortable. For the first time, his wealth and success did not make him feel secure and happy. Instead, they made him feel guilty and confused. Marcus thought about Maya's words about being truly rich. He had spent his whole adult life trying to make more money, buy bigger houses, and accumulate more possessions. He had believed that success meant having more than other people. But Maya had shown him a different way of thinking about wealth. Marcus walked through his house and looked at all his expensive things with new eyes. He had artwork that cost more than most people's houses. He had a wine collection worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. He had cars that cost more than many people made in several years. But as Marcus looked at all these expensive things, he realized they did not make him feel the joy he had seen on Maya's face when she was playing simple games with Tommy. His possessions were beautiful and valuable, but they were just objects. They could not laugh with him or teach him important lessons about life. Marcus went to Tommy's room and watched his son sleep. Tommy's room was filled with expensive toys, games, and electronics. The boy had everything money could buy. But Marcus realized that Tommy's happiest moment that day had been sharing a simple sandwich with a homeless girl who had almost nothing. This thought kept Marcus awake long into the night. He lay in his king-size bed in his master bedroom that was bigger than most people's entire apartments. But he could not stop thinking about Maya and her grandmother sharing a small space in a homeless shelter. Marcus thought about Maya's grandmother, Elena. He had not met her, but from what Maya said, Elena sounded like an amazing woman. She had raised Maya to be kind, generous, and strong. She had taught Maya to find joy in simple things and to always look for the good in people and situations. Marcus compared Elena's parenting to his own. He gave Tommy expensive things and the best education money could buy. But had he taught Tommy the important lessons that Elena had taught Maya? Had he shown Tommy how to be truly generous? Had he taught him to find happiness in simple pleasures? As Marcus lay awake thinking, he realized that Maya and Elena were struggling with problems he could easily solve. He had more money than he could spend in several lifetimes. He could help them find a home, pay for Elena's medical care, and make sure Maya had everything she needed for school and her future. But Marcus also realized that Maya and Elena had something he needed to learn from them. They had discovered how to be happy and grateful despite having very little. They had learned how to find joy in everyday moments. They knew how to build real relationships based on kindness and caring, not money and status. The more Marcus thought about it, the more he realized that helping Maya and Elena would not just be good for them, it would be good for him and Tommy too. Maya had already started teaching Tommy important lessons about sharing, kindness, and finding joy in simple things. These were lessons that all of Marcus's money had not been able to provide. Marcus also thought about Elena's situation. Maya had said her grandmother used to be a nurse but lost her job when she got sick with diabetes. Elena sounded like a hard-working, caring person who had simply had bad luck with her health. She did not deserve to be homeless, and Maya certainly did not deserve to grow up without a stable home. As the night went on, Marcus made a decision. He was going to find Maya and Elena and offer to help them. But more than that, he was going to ask if they would be willing to teach him and Tommy the lessons they had learned about what really mattered in life. Marcus realized that this chance meeting in the park might be the most important thing that had ever happened to him. Maya's simple act of sharing her sandwich had opened his eyes to a completely different way of thinking about success, happiness, and what it meant to be truly wealthy. For the first time in years, Marcus fell asleep thinking about something other than business deals and making money. He fell asleep thinking about a little girl's generous heart and wondering how he could learn to see the world through her wise and caring eyes. Marcus woke up early the next morning with Maya and her grandmother still on his mind. He had barely slept, thinking about their situation and wondering what he could do to help. Instead of his usual routine of checking stock prices and business news, Marcus sat at his computer and started researching something completely different. He typed homeless families and local shelters into his search engine. What he found shocked him. Marcus had lived in this city his whole life, but he had never known how many people were struggling to find safe places to live. The numbers were overwhelming. Thousands of families in his city did not have homes. Many of them worked full-time jobs but still could not afford rent. Others, like Elena, had lost their homes because of medical problems that made it impossible to work. Marcus read story after story of families living in cars, moving from shelter to shelter, or staying with friends and relatives. He read about children who missed school because they did not have a stable address. He read about parents who worked multiple jobs but still could not save enough money for a security deposit on an apartment. As Marcus read these stories, he felt ashamed that he had never known about this problem before. He lived just a few miles away from people who were struggling every day to meet their basic needs, but he had been completely unaware of their existence. Marcus also researched diabetes and how it affected people's ability to work. He learned that Elena's condition was serious and probably required expensive medication and regular doctor visits. Without insurance or a steady income, managing diabetes would be extremely difficult and expensive. The more Marcus learned, the more he realized how brave and strong Maya and Elena were. They were facing challenges that would overwhelm most people, but Maya had still found the generosity to share her food with Tommy. Elena had still managed to raise Maya to be kind, polite, and positive despite their difficult circumstances. After spending the morning reading and learning, Marcus made a decision. He was going to go back to the park and look for Maya and Elena. He needed to meet Elena and talk to her about how he could help. But Marcus also felt nervous. He had never approached a homeless person before. He was not sure what to say or how to offer help without seeming like he felt sorry for them or thought he was better than them. Maya and Elena clearly had dignity and pride, and Marcus did not want to hurt their feelings. Marcus decided to take Tommy with him. If Maya was at the park again, Tommy would be happy to see her. And maybe having Tommy there would make the conversation feel more natural and less awkward. "Dad, are we going back to the park?" Tommy asked excitedly when Marcus suggested the trip. "I thought you might like to see if Maya is there again," Marcus said. Tommy's face lit up. "Yes, I want to show her the book I brought. She said she loves reading." Marcus had watched Tommy carefully select a book from his room that morning. It was one of Tommy's favorites, about a boy who goes on adventures and makes friends. Marcus thought Maya might enjoy it, and Tommy wanted to share it with her. When they arrived at the park, Marcus felt his heart beating faster. What if Maya and Elena were not there? What if they were there but did not want to talk to him? What if he said the wrong thing and offended them? Tommy ran ahead toward the tree where he had met Maya the day before. Marcus followed more slowly, looking around the park carefully. At first he did not see Maya anywhere, but then Tommy called out happily, "Maya! You're here!" Marcus looked toward Tommy's voice and saw Maya sitting on the same bench where Marcus had sat the day before. Next to her was an older woman who must be Elena, Maya's grandmother. Elena looked to be in her 60s with gray hair pulled back neatly and kind eyes that looked tired but alert. She was wearing clean clothes that, like Maya's, were not expensive, but were well cared for. She had her arm around Maya in a protective way, and she was watching Tommy approach with a careful but friendly expression. Marcus walked over slowly, giving Elena time to see him and decide if she wanted to talk to him. He did not want to surprise her or make her feel uncomfortable. "Grandma, this is Tommy," Maya said happily. "He's the boy I told you about yesterday, the one who shared my sandwich with me." Elena smiled warmly at Tommy. "Hello, Tommy. Maya told me all about you. She said you were very nice to her." "Hi," Tommy said politely. "Maya shared her sandwich with me because I was hungry. She's really nice." Elena's smile grew bigger. "That sounds like my Maya. She always wants to help people." Marcus reached the bench and introduced himself. "Hello, I'm Marcus Sterling, Tommy's father. I wanted to thank you for how kind Maya was to Tommy yesterday." Elena stood up and shook Marcus's hand. Her handshake was firm and confident. "I'm Elena Rodriguez, and this is my granddaughter Maya. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Sterling." Marcus could see immediately where Maya got her strength and dignity. Elena carried herself with pride despite her difficult circumstances. She spoke clearly and looked Marcus directly in the eyes when she talked to him. "Maya told me about sharing her lunch with Tommy," Elena said. "I hope that was okay with you. I always teach Maya to help others when she can." "It was more than okay," Marcus said sincerely. "It was one of the kindest things I've ever seen. Maya taught Tommy and me something important about generosity." Elena looked pleased but not surprised. "Maya has always had a big heart. Even when things are difficult for us, she finds ways to help others." As the adults talked, Tommy and Maya sat together on the grass and looked at the book Tommy had brought. Maya's eyes lit up when she saw it. "I love this book," Maya said. "I read it at the library, but I had to return it before I finished." "You can have this one," Tommy said immediately. I have lots of books at home. Marcus watched Elena's reaction to Tommy's generous offer. Her eyes became a little watery and she looked both grateful and slightly uncomfortable. That's very kind, Tommy, Elena said, but that's an expensive book. Are you sure your father is okay with you giving it away? Marcus spoke up quickly. Of course. Tommy has many books and he would be happy to share with Maya. Elena hesitated for a moment, clearly torn between wanting to accept the gift for Maya and not wanting to take charity. Finally, she smiled at Tommy. Thank you, Tommy, that's very generous. Maya will take good care of it. As they continued talking, Marcus learned more about Elena's situation. She told him about losing her job as a nurse when her diabetes made it impossible to work long shifts. She explained how quickly their savings had disappeared when she could no longer earn money and had to pay for expensive medications. We lost our apartment 3 months ago, Elena said, matter-of-factly. The shelter downtown has been good to us. They have rules and schedules, but it's safe and clean. Maya can still go to her same school from there. Marcus was impressed by Elena's attitude. She was not bitter or angry about their situation. She was simply dealing with the reality of their lives and trying to make the best of it. Maya seems to be doing well despite everything, Marcus said. Elena's face showed pride and love as she looked at her granddaughter. Maya is stronger than I am sometimes. She keeps me positive when I start to feel sorry for myself. She reminds me every day that we still have each other, and that's what matters most. Marcus felt moved by Elena's words. Here was a woman who had lost her home and her health, but she still focused on what she was grateful for rather than what she had lost. As they talked more, Marcus began to understand the full scope of Elena and Maya's challenges. Elena needed regular medical care and expensive medications. Maya needed school supplies, clothes, and a stable place to do homework. They both needed a safe, permanent place to live, but Marcus also saw how much Elena and Maya had to offer. Elena was wise, strong, and had clearly done an amazing job raising Maya. Maya was kind, intelligent, and had a positive spirit that could brighten anyone's day. Marcus realized that helping Elena and Maya would not just be about giving them things they needed. It would be about creating a relationship where everyone could learn from each other and benefit from the friendship. As the afternoon went on, Marcus felt more and more certain that meeting Elena and Maya was going to change his and Tommy's lives in the best possible way. As Marcus and Elena continued talking on the park bench, he found himself genuinely enjoying their conversation. Elena was intelligent and well-spoken. She had interesting stories about her years as a nurse and the different people she had helped. She spoke about her work with pride and passion. I loved being a nurse, Elena told Marcus. Every day was different. Some days were hard when patients were very sick, but other days were wonderful when someone got better and went home to their family. Marcus found himself sharing more about his own life than he usually did with new people. There was something about Elena's honest, direct way of talking that made him want to be equally honest. I run a technology company, Marcus explained. We develop software for other businesses. It's successful, but I sometimes wonder if the work I do really helps people the way your nursing work did. Elena smiled thoughtfully. All work has value if it's done with care and honesty. I'm sure your work helps people, even if you don't see it directly. Marcus appreciated Elena's kind words, but he was starting to question whether his work truly made the world better or just made him richer. Watching Maya's generosity and Elena's strength was making him think about what kind of impact he wanted to have on the world. While the adults talked, Tommy and Maya played together again. Marcus watched them build elaborate structures out of sticks and leaves, create imaginary worlds, and laugh together like old friends. Tommy seemed more relaxed and creative when he played with Maya than he ever did at home with his expensive toys. Maya is wonderful with Tommy, Marcus told Elena. I haven't seen him this happy and engaged in a long time. Elena looked proudly at her granddaughter. Maya has always been good with other children. At the shelter, she helps the younger kids with their homework and plays with them when their parents are busy looking for work. Marcus was struck again by Maya's generosity. Even while dealing with her own difficult situation, she found ways to help others who were struggling. As they talked, Elena began to open up more about their current challenges. She explained that the shelter where they were staying only allowed families to stay for 90 days. They had been there for 2 months, which meant they had only 1 month left to find somewhere else to live. I've been applying for jobs, Elena said. but many places won't hire someone with my health problems. And even if I find work, it will take time to save enough money for a security deposit and first month's rent on an apartment. Marcus listened carefully, understanding that Elena and Maya were facing a deadline that could put them in an even more difficult situation. What happens if you can't find housing before the 90 days are up? Marcus asked gently. Elena's expression became more serious. There are other shelters, but they have waiting lists. We might have to stay in different places. Or, she paused, looking at Maya playing happily with Tommy. I try not to think too much about the worst possibilities. Marcus felt his heart ache for Elena. She was clearly worried about their future, but trying to stay strong for Maya's sake. He could see that Elena would do anything to protect her granddaughter, but her options were becoming limited. Elena, Marcus said carefully, I hope this doesn't sound presumptuous, but I would like to help you and Maya if you would let me. Elena looked at Marcus with surprise and some wariness. That's very kind of you, Mr. Sterling, but we're not looking for charity. I just need a chance to prove I can work and take care of my granddaughter. Marcus admired Elena's pride and independence. She was not asking for handouts. She wanted the opportunity to solve her own problems. I understand, Marcus said. I'm not talking about charity. I'm talking about helping each other. Maya has already taught Tommy and me important lessons about kindness and generosity. I think we could all benefit from getting to know each other better. Elena looked thoughtful but still cautious. What exactly are you suggesting? Marcus had been thinking about this since the night before, but he wanted to be careful not to offend Elena or make her feel like he was trying to control their lives. I have a large house with guest rooms that are never used, Marcus said. If you and Maya would be comfortable with it, you could stay there while you look for work and save money for your own place. It would give Maya stability for school, and it would give Tommy the chance to continue his friendship with Maya. Elena was quiet for a long moment, considering Marcus's offer. Marcus could see her weighing the benefits against her concerns about accepting help from someone she had just met. That's incredibly generous, Elena said finally, but I would need to contribute something. I couldn't just live in your house without paying or helping in some way, Marcus thought quickly. Actually, there is something you could do that would be very helpful. Tommy needs someone to supervise him after school and during school breaks. I often work late and his current nanny is not very engaged with him. If you felt comfortable with it, you could help with Tommy's care and I could pay you a fair salary for that work. Elena's eyes brightened at this suggestion. I would love to help with Tommy. He's such a sweet boy and I can see he and Maya care about each other. Marcus felt excited that Elena seemed interested in his proposal. You would have your own space and privacy, of course, and you could continue looking for nursing work when you're ready. There's no pressure or timeline. Elena looked over at Maya and Tommy, who were now teaching each other different hand-clapping games. Maya was patiently showing Tommy a complicated pattern, and Tommy was laughing as he tried to keep up. Let me ask Maya what she thinks, Elena said. This would be a big change for her, and I want to make sure she's comfortable with the idea. Elena called Maya over and explained Marcus's offer in simple terms. Maya's eyes grew wide with excitement. We could live in Tommy's house? Maya asked. Like really live there? Temporarily, Elena clarified. While Grandma looks for a job and saves money for our own apartment, Maya looked at Tommy. Would you like that? Would it be fun to live in the same house? Tommy's face lit up with joy. Yes, we could play together every day. And you could see all my video games and books. Maya turned back to her grandmother. I think it sounds wonderful, Grandma, and Mr. Marcus seems really nice. Elena smiled at her granddaughter's enthusiasm, then looked seriously at Marcus. If we do this, we need to establish clear boundaries and expectations. I don't want Maya or me to become dependent on your generosity. This needs to be a temporary arrangement that helps all of us. Absolutely, Marcus agreed. We can work out all the details and put everything in writing so everyone feels comfortable and secure. Elena extended her hand to Marcus. Then I think we have an agreement, Mr. Sterling. Thank you for this opportunity. As Marcus shook Elena's hand, he felt something he had not experienced in years. He felt like he was doing something that truly mattered. This was not about making money or winning business deals. This was about helping a family in need while also enriching his own and Tommy's lives. Tommy and Maya were already making plans for all the things they would do together. Maya wanted to see Tommy's book collection, and Tommy wanted to show Maya his art supplies so they could create projects together. Marcus realized that his house, which had always felt too big and empty, was about to become a real home filled with laughter, friendship, and the kind of warmth that money could never buy. As they prepared to leave the park together, Marcus felt grateful for the chance encounter that had brought these two remarkable people into his and Tommy's lives. Maya's simple act of sharing her sandwich had started a chain of events that was going to change all of their lives for the better. 3 months later, Marcus stood in his kitchen on a Saturday morning watching something that would have seemed impossible just a few months earlier. Maya and Elena were making breakfast together, while Tommy set the table and told them about a book he was reading. The house was filled with the sounds of laughter, conversation, and the warm feeling of a real family. The transformation had not happened overnight, but it had been remarkable to witness. Elena had quickly proven herself to be exactly what Tommy needed, a caring adult who paid attention to him, helped with his homework, and genuinely enjoyed spending time with him. She brought the same patience and wisdom to caring for Tommy that she had used to raise Maya. Marcus had also arranged for Elena to get the medical care she needed. With proper treatment and medication, her diabetes was now well controlled. Her energy had returned and she was much healthier and stronger than when Marcus first met her. But the most amazing changes had been in Maya and Tommy's friendship. Living in the same house had allowed them to become as close as siblings. Maya helped Tommy with school projects and taught him games that did not require expensive equipment. Tommy shared his books and art supplies with Maya and showed her how to use some of his educational computer programs. More importantly, Maya had continued to teach Tommy about generosity, gratitude, and finding joy in simple pleasures. Tommy had started noticing when other kids at school seemed sad or left out, and he always tried to include them. He had learned to appreciate what he had instead of always wanting more. Marcus had changed too, perhaps more than anyone. Watching Elena and Maya had taught him that success meant more than accumulating wealth. He had started spending more time with Tommy and less time at the office. He had begun to see his work as a way to help people, not just a way to make money. Most surprisingly, Marcus had discovered that he genuinely enjoyed Elena's company. She was intelligent, funny, and wise. They had long conversations about books, current events, and life experiences. Elena helped Marcus see the world from different perspectives and taught him about the strength that came from overcoming difficult challenges. On this particular Saturday morning, Marcus had an announcement to make. Elena had been looking for nursing work for several weeks and had recently received a job offer from a local clinic. The position came with good benefits and would allow her to work regular hours that fit well with caring for Tommy. "Elena, I know you're excited about starting your new job next week," Marcus said as they all sat down to breakfast together. "And I want you to know that you and Maya are welcome to stay here as long as you want." Elena smiled gratefully. "That's very kind, Marcus, but Maya and I have been talking about finding our own apartment soon. We've saved almost enough money for a security deposit." Marcus had expected this. Elena's independence and pride would never allow her to stay dependent on others longer than necessary. But he had a different idea. "Actually, I have a proposal for both of you," Marcus said. "I've been thinking about this for weeks." Maya and Tommy looked up from their pancakes with interest. Elena set down her coffee cup and gave Marcus her full attention. "Elena, you've become family to Tommy and me. And Maya, you've been the best friend Tommy has ever had. I don't want to lose that when you move out." Marcus took a deep breath. "I want to ask if you would consider making this arrangement permanent. Not as employee and employer, but as family. I want to officially adopt both of you if you're willing." The room went completely silent. Elena's eyes filled with tears and Maya looked shocked. Tommy, however, broke into a huge grin. "Really, Dad? Maya would be my sister?" Tommy asked excitedly. Marcus nodded. "If Elena and Maya want that." Elena wiped her eyes with her napkin. "Marcus, that's the most wonderful thing anyone has ever offered us. But are you sure? Adoption is permanent. You can't change your mind later." "I've never been more sure of anything," Marcus said sincerely. "You two have brought more joy and meaning to our lives than all my money and success ever did. I can't imagine our family without you now." Maya, who had been quiet during this conversation, finally spoke up. "Does this mean we would really be a family? Like forever?" "Forever," Marcus confirmed. Maya jumped up from her chair and hugged Marcus tightly. "Yes, I want that more than anything." Elena was crying now, but they were tears of happiness. "We would be honored to be part of your family, Marcus. You and Tommy have given us so much more than a place to live. You've given us love and security and a future we never thought we could have." Tommy was so excited he could barely sit still. "Maya, we can share all our books and toys and you never have to leave, and we can have adventures together forever." As Marcus hugged his new family, he thought about how much his life had changed since that day in the park. He had started that day as a successful but emotionally distant businessman, focused only on making money. He was ending this chapter of his life as a father of 2 children and partner to a woman who had taught him what really mattered in life. 6 months later, the adoption was finalized. Maya officially became Maya Sterling and Elena became Mrs. Elena Sterling. The family celebrated with a simple party in their backyard, with homemade cake and games that Maya had taught them all to play. Marcus had also made changes to his business. He had started a foundation that helped homeless families find housing and job training. Elena helped run the foundation, using her experience to connect with families who were going through what she and Maya had experienced. Tommy and Maya both excelled in school, but more importantly, they continued to be kind, generous children who looked out for others. They volunteered together at the local shelter, helping serve meals and playing with younger children. The house that had once felt too big and empty was now filled with warmth, laughter, and love. Marcus often thought about that moment when he first saw Maya share her sandwich with Tommy. Such a simple act of kindness had changed all their lives in ways he never could have imagined. Elena had been right when she told Maya that being truly rich meant having people who love you and being kind to others. Marcus had learned that lesson from a 10-year-old homeless girl who taught him that the most valuable things in life could not be bought with money. On quiet evenings, Marcus would watch his family reading together or playing games, and he felt a contentment he had never known during his years of chasing financial success. He had finally learned what it meant to be truly wealthy, not in money but in love, kindness, and the joy that came from helping others. Maya's simple sandwich had fed more than Tommy's hunger that day in the park. It had fed Marcus's soul and shown him the path to a richer, more meaningful life. The billionaire had discovered that the most valuable treasure was not in his bank account, but in the generous heart of a little girl who taught him that sharing what you have, no matter how little, can transform everyone's world. And every morning when Marcus woke up in his house full of family, laughter, and love, he remembered Maya's grandmother's wisdom. The richest people are those who have love and share kindness with others. Marcus Sterling had finally become truly wealthy.